While I was waiting for the muffler and retracts, I decided to trim the wheel wells and the canopy. I'd find out later that there is no way these wheel wells are going to fit in this airplane with wheels or not. And I kept finding pictures of this airplane with nothing in the wheel wells either, so these went back in the box. This is the first time I've had to install a canopy like this, and it turned out pretty good. But if you're looking for perfection, just keep on walking. I love my Rotoflow gas tanks, but I had to use a conventional tank in this one because nothing else had fit. Remember that we have to have the plane inverted when we install this gas tank, so it's going in upside down as well. Somewhere between that and having a short-term memory of a rock, I wound up having to take this tank out 3 or 4 more times later on. This plane doesn't have a motor box, so that means it gets a little crowded up front. I had no idea how crowded until later on when I balanced this thing. This is my Berry Trick Bison muffler, and it's probably the only one that's going to fit on this plane. If you've been following my site, you know that I don't use exhaust gaskets anymore. I've gone to this silicone gasket maker, and we apply it just like the directions say. I spread a good thick film of it on both of the parts being mated. Then using both of the mounting bolts, I put the muffler on the motor, but we don't tighten it down yet. The instructions on the gasket maker say to run the bolts down until you just start to squeeze the gasket maker out between the 2 pieces. As soon as you see that start to rise up, you stop tightening the bolts and leave it sit for an hour. Then we come back an hour later and honk down on the bolts, get them good and tight. I always try to run the motor once and get it up to temperature, let it cool down, and then tighten the bolts up again. I had to make a new choke rod because the one I ran on this motor before wouldn't fit. I'm not kidding when I say that things got a little crowded in this cowl. I'm kind of proud of myself because I remembered to put the fill and the overflow on the same side of the plane. I always wanted to do it that way, but this is the first time I remembered to do it. The Robart retracts are a straight bolt-in deal. I'm still waiting on the extensions that let me put the control box inside the plane, but we could test it out and see how they look. Getting that little delay in the opening and closing is just a matter of flipping one little dip switch. I decided to go with electrics after I heard way too many people talking harshly to their air-powered retracts that weren't working. And then with everything in the plane, it was time to try and balance this thing. I took my time making the CG marks according to the manual. Then I lined those up with the little cut in my easy balancer to make sure that we're right on the money with this. And right in here is where I'm starting to really hate fiberglass fuselages. Keep in mind that all it is after I put 6 ounces of lead in the leading edge of the cowl. But altogether, it needed 2¼ pounds of lead to get it to balance right. I don't think I'll ever be happy about putting this much lead in an airplane. When a plane sits level this steadily on an easy balancer, you know it's dead on the money. There just isn't any way for me to be this accurate without the easy balancer. Remember how crowded things were inside the cowl? Well, it's getting a bunch more crowded. I'm even more happy now that I decided to go with the mounting blocks for the cowl, because that gave me a place to put a bunch of the lead too. Every once in a while I take a break from putting lead in it and try the cowl to make sure that still fit. Then it was back to hanging lead again. Eventually I got all of the lead installed and secured with screws. This is absolutely scary to me, and there's lead on the other side too. I did keep it balanced from side to side. Right about now I don't like fiberglass fuselages even a little bit. All this lead also comes from the manufacturer refusing to lengthen the nose to keep it looking right, and I can go along with that. I kept this one little piece out to make sure that I had this just right. See the tail sinks? Now I'll put that little piece back on, and it's steady as can be. I put that piece of lead in, checked it again, and we were ready to go. I had to whip up this cradle so I could strap this plane down in a trailer. I know it looks too high, but I can put the plane in upside down for installing the wing, and the tail will clear a table. And right now as I'm editing this video, the plane's in the trailer and it's raining like crazy outside because we were going to maiden it today, hopefully tomorrow.